Hi everybody and welcome to the Airgun World Podcast, brought to you in association with Crackshot, the Southwest's premier airgun centre and ranges. I'm Mat Manning. Now with me today I've got Rich Saunders, who you will no doubt recognise from Airgun World magazine and the Airgun Show. And back, I assume by popular demand, our good friend Tony Belas from Daystate, BRK and MTC. Good to see you both.
Find anybody else, yeah.
Well, look, we've got a lot to get through. And Tony, I know you've got something particularly interesting to tell us about with these. I will touch on it very quickly now, but there are some Daystate and BRK experience days, which are going to give people an opportunity to shoot some awesome guns. I think there is also some discount deals there. And God forbid, for some of them, even an opportunity to come out for dinner and a drink with us three. So yeah, we will talk about that in much more detail a bit later on. Prior to that, the usual quick update of what we've been doing sort of airgun wise and shooting wise over the past week or two. Rich, do you want to kick off with that one?
Yeah, it's been a busy few weeks for me, dodging in and out of the weather, but lots of rat shooting. I think this wet weather is, and just general sort of flooding in the countryside still bringing the rats in. On my chicken farm permission, shot a load of rats the other night on there. Some squirrels as well. I shot a load of squirrels yesterday and some rabbits last night as well. I've been battling really with actually, I say I shot a load of squirrels. I shot two. I've been battling with an issue on my fruit farm permission. 400 acres, grows acres and acres of strawberries, and the farm's been there for like 40 or 50 years. And although we have a big issue with rabbits and birds and deer eating the crop, we've never ever had an issue with squirrels eating the strawberries until this year. And they've all of a sudden switched onto the fact that, acorns are miserable, strawberries are much nicer, and they are just causing so much damage on the squirrel crop and on the strawberry crop. Now the problem is that because there's no other natural food around, the only other natural food, although it's not really natural, are strawberries. So I put up some peanut feeders by the strawberry tunnels, but the squirrels are just thinking, I'd rather have strawberries, thank you, and they're ignoring them. So I've got to come up with another plan to try and distract the squirrels from the strawberries and get them switched onto my
ice cream.
Yeah. and try and deal with it. It's one of those occasions where, to the farm manager, I just go and deal with the pests. And he doesn't want to hear about, natural food, peanut feeders. He's just like, there's squirrels there, go and deal with them. And it's a little bit tricky at the moment. So I'm thinking about how I'm going to get around that. And switch the squirrels off, because the strawberries will grow now till the end of October. So that's a little bit of a conundrum for me at the moment. But fortunately, the rabbits were a lot more obliging last night.
I assume that what happened with those squirrels was, they haven't been a problem before. One of them made the leap of faith and went into the polytunnel or wherever it is to have a look, liked what it found, kept going back and forth, and like us with our feeding stations, the others then saw it coming and going, wanted to find out what was going on, went in, thought, we like this too, and it just snowballs.
I think you're absolutely right, Matt, because, as I said, it's 400 acres and there's squirrels all over the place, but it's only in two pockets that are relatively close to each other where it's an issue. Elsewhere, the strawberries are fine, then the squirrels are leaving them alone. And I think you're right. I think it's just sort of one group, two groups possibly have seen the behaviour and have copied it. And unless I can deal with it, then they'll be doing it forevermore. I mean, I'm not saying I don't eat a few strawberries when I go up there as well, but not as bad as the squirrels.
Tony, shooting wise, have you managed to get out and actually do any shooting over the last week or two?
Well, as you say, the weather's been terrible. We've done a little bit of filming down at Oakhead Shooting Ground, which is the ground we use. So we've been down testing different rifles and shooting bits of film, mostly for filming. But the big shooting event for us was the National Shooting Show, which is probably a couple of weeks past now. We were up there for 3 days, and so we did a fair bit of shooting there. Lovely venue. Harrogate is a beautiful town, city, really nice, and you've got a lovely events centre there. One of the nicest you could go to. Yeah.
Around the weather, I've managed to do more shooting than I would have thought I'd managed to squeeze in. Given how changeable, to say the least, it's been. But as per usual, lots of squirrel shooting for me. Loads of grey squirrel control. Still on the rabbits that I talked about last time we caught up, Rich. So yes, still hammering down the rabbits at this wedding venue, and they're starting to get a little bit more savvy now. So I'm moving on to night shooting, which is never something to relish when it's not getting dark until gone 10 o'clock. So it's those long sort of summer graveyard shifts that, I won't complain because it's nice to have the opportunity to do it. But my goodness, when you've got to get up early for work after being out shooting into the small hours, it's
when
bit
it's dark at 9:30, 10 o'clock, it's a long day, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It makes for a very long stint. But more interestingly, one of my farmyard permissions, which is a lovely mixed holding. You've got grain stores there, livestock, and also a little market garden. They've been suffering with avian pests there, wood pigeons, all sorts of corvids, jackdaws, rooks. It's the kind of thing that, and the sort of numbers, that in all honesty, the first thing you'd think is you need a shotgun because you need to be able to shoot them on the wing. But being around the yard, really close to the village, it's out of the question. Yeah. So again, the airgun's the obvious choice. Quiet,
noisy,
discreet.
Smelly thing, shotguns, keep away.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's had to be a finesse job, and that's been really exciting. Yeah. It's been tricky. It's made for some nice, challenging, varied shooting. In fact, quick shameless plug, I am writing about that particular farmyard shooting permission in the latest issue of Airgun World magazine, which looks like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. So moving on, Tony. Since we last caught up, you managed to pick up the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Great British Shooting Show at the British Shooting Awards. Yes. Now that's the big one, and obviously Rich and I were there to witness this brilliant occasion and this brilliant recognition for you. How did it feel?
It was very enjoyable, actually. More enjoyable. I was kind of dreading it in a way because it's a wonderful honour, but you kind of wonder, is because I'm still alive? Have I got this? Everybody else has dropped off.
Endurance award.
So it must be his turn. But it was nice. I heard that I got a good number of votes for me, which is gratifying, and the applause was loud and seemed sincere. So it was. I did enjoy it more. I didn't think I was going to, but I did enjoy it. It was very nice. It was an honour.
Good, because obviously you're a big part of the industry, and I think it's great to see somebody like you get that recognition, because a lot of what you do also is behind the scenes. You're not splashed all over the magazines or YouTube like Rich and I. So I think it's great to see someone that is a linchpin of the industry being acknowledged in that way, and also in front of the rest of the industry too, which I think it's a great thing. So yeah, very well done.
The speech that I was expected, I thought, well, if anybody's going to get lumbered with having to say a few words, it's going to be me at the end. So I sort of spent about 2 weeks preparing this, and I thought, well, I'm not reading from my notes because I've been to these things where the guy's got his head burrowed in a piece of paper and, can't read his own handwriting sort of thing, So I thought, I am going to learn it. So I spent about at least a week anyway, learning this thing, off pat. And I was ready to go. And I got up there and I got sort of dragged up. There you go. And off you get. And I think it was because, as we've discussed, it was because they were running out of time and people needed to get out and get the lights down and get security on. But I was like, what do I do? Do I grab the mic and throw people off the stage? And, I only use this speech. So if you've got 20 minutes, no,
we haven't got 20 minutes, but is there anything from that speech that you would particularly like to sort of flag or highlight?
No, I think it was really to say to people, thank you for the great honour of it, and been doing this a while, and it's nice that people have noticed. It's you are standing above the parapet in a lot of ways. When you are front of a company, as a spokesman or as a media manager, as I am now, and you're very easily shot at. So it's it's nice that some people recognise that I'm not all bad, and I've tried hard over the years.
No, it's very well deserved, Tony, and it was a pleasure to be there and see you. And you did kind of share the draft of your speech beforehand, and you
have to proofread it.
I'm glad you didn't have to give it in the end, Tony. I think the bar was open. That was your main problem.
They can't compete with that.
Yeah. So, Tony, the last time you and I met, we started talking a little bit about kind of your own personal shooting journey.
Yes.
Outside of the sort of the Daystate universe. And we got into a conversation there, and I thought it'd be really good to sort of expand on that a little bit, because as Matt says, we see you in magazines and people know you and everything, but they know you in a Daystate BRK.
Yeah.
So how did you start?
That's all that I've ever done. Yeah. And we had this discussion down at your range at Reading. Yeah. We took something for Alpha Military, and we were talking about some rifles, and we ended up having a chat, and I noticed you cut that into a piece.
Yeah.
As you use everything, use every scrap. I've been here at Daystate for 24 years. That sounds quite a long time, but of course I'm getting on a bit now, and I had a career before that, and it was in the army. I was an infantry sergeant in the Queen's Regiment and the Princess of Wales's, and I started that at 15 and did a full career. And it was only really in the last years of my army career that I started to wonder, what am I going to do next? Well, being a complete and utter gun nut all my life, I've started looking for something that could, keep my hobby going, as it were. And I was already shooting Daystate rifles as part of their shooting team.
The army shooting team.
Well, I was shooting with the army with full bore rifles, really.
Right.
With military weapons. But I'm not the biggest athlete in the world. You may have noticed I'm not, a tall, lean runner. So I always struggled a little bit with the fitness in the army, which was considerable. So when we came down to competitive shooting, a lot of the shooting was a 100-meter dash down, and I would get there as the targets were going down. Really, this was the. So I had to be fast, and that was a challenge. So when I was practicing shooting, I really didn't want to be running around too much. So I started going back to my air rifle roots, really from when I was a kid, and shooting originally spring guns. Yeah. And then these newfangled PCPs started to turn up, and I took an interest in that. And that led me to Venom Arms, who were doing a Bullpup version of a number of rifles, actually, originally a Sharp and Over. But they had just made an association as a custom shop with a company called Daystate. So that fed me to that. In the meantime, I'd been in Germany. We'd been doing some preliminary work with the SA80 or the SA80-B. It was still in its XM prototype style at that point. And absolutely fell in love with the idea of a bullpup rifle. It sort of fitted in with my idea of, I was a motorcycle. I still am a motorcyclist as well, and you can carry a bullpup an awful lot easier than you can a long arm. And I kind of like the idea of bullpup. So that all fell together. So I was ended up sort of speaking quite a lot with Venom Arms and Daystate, and ended up in the team shooting a Daystate rifle. So when I left the army, I was able to. Initially, I didn't go to Daystate. I started my own company up. But after about 5 years of running my own company, I was offered the job at Daystate a couple of times, actually, but eventually took it. And originally it was a 2-day week, then 3-day week, then it was 5 days a week, and then I had to move up to do it. And I've been in Staffordshire, really, for 24 years since. So,
Tony, you said about your interest in bullpups. And just interested, how much of your own personal views on rifles go into the Daystate designs. Do you get much input there, or is that done somewhere
off and
else?
on. So when we started on the Bullpup thing, we did so we're talking about the Venom Arms rifle being about 1988 to 1989. So that comes out of the SA80 came in 85, and I first started playing with that at about 1980, 81. So, that's a long time. And because I was interested in guns as well, which is kind of my hobby, which what led me into the army in the first place, I knew all about bullpups. I knew about the EM2. The EM2 was a 1950s scandal I won't go through into here, but when I was at various courses at Warminster School of Infantry, they had a museum there which nobody ever went in. But being a gun nut, of course, I lived in the place. And they had an EM2, and the curator, who got about one person a week, coming into the door. Normally, they had parties going through, but, he was, generally speaking, left to sort of read the newspaper. And so I'd turn up and want to know all about the M2. And he kind of indoctrinated me into how scandalous it was that we didn't get this rifle, that the Americans forced on us 7.62 or 308, as it really is, and that we should have had this weapon. And now we've got this lame Belgian piece of junk, that we're all having to sort of live with. And we should have got this beautiful, tiny little rifle. Now, knowing a bit about guns now, I know that's not true. The M2 would have been a nightmare. Yeah. But in the museum, on a wall, at Bullpup, 1952, this gun, I was taken with it. So when we kind of went back, the reason the Army got SA80 is the Skillet Arms Corps it was like the Civil War veterans. It ain't over, We're going back to a bullpup. So that's when they adopted it. So all the bullpupping thing really was in me. I wanted to do this. So when Daystate started to develop one, I think on 1992, the SR92 bullpup, I was involved in that. I hated the trigger on it, and almost immediately, myself and a couple of friends, Russell Grew, if you're out there, developed an electronic trigger for it. So we had an electronic trigger in 93. Wow. And when I joined Daystate in 2001, that was my first pitch, was we need to do this. We need to put the electronic trigger in. And I was involved in finding Harper, who was the developer of the electronic gun. He did it in 94, and they've basically been left to go to fallow since then. They didn't have any backing. The guy who was a partner didn't want to bring anybody in. But by chance, he died. And I got to hear about it, and I rang Steve Harper, and we did the deal for the electronic guns. And that allowed us to have an electronic trigger. That was the bit I was interested in, being able to put the trigger wherever we felt like it.
In terms of where we are today, what's going on at Daystate right now, and BRK and MGC? Is there anything new that you can tell us? Any new?
We've had a very good year. We did a massive amount of development last year with new rifles, and the year before that. So really, from 2020 onwards, we've been launching stuff, every 6 months. So we haven't really done that this year. We've done some colour changes this year and some tidy up projects, but we've been more or less sitting back and sort of, reaping what we've sowed, which is a vast investment in modern guns, and allowed to get some of the money back on that and sort of getting our breath back. And that's the reason for developing some accessories around it, so that we're able to, bring in all these accessories to make the guns work a little bit better and more customizable. But
so that's the performance center.
That's the performance center. And of course, by not launching something new every 2 weeks, we've been able to tidy up the workshop guides, which we've got, which you and I have been working on for years.
Tell people about the workshop guides, then, because I think they're a tremendous resource.
So one of the things that originally came up was that, who services an air rifle? Well, I service my own air rifle, always have done, and I wouldn't really want anybody else to touch it. And I know a lot of people are out there like that. It isn't a complicated engine. It's not like a modern car. It's a clean piece of mechanics. It's something that you should be able to service and work on yourself, and you should get joy in doing it. Now, at the same time, there are other people out there who don't know which way to turn a screw and should never be trusted to do so. Yes, I've seen
I was going to say, why are you all looking at me?
But, and they know who they are, and they probably wouldn't take the stock off, and that's absolutely fine. But for the rest, it's part of the job. Now, for many years, we kind of discouraged people from doing it. I think with the fear that they might blow themselves up or do some damage and claim under warranty. But, we're a big company now. We've got guns going all over the world. You can't expect to grab and run a gun which has just landed in New Zealand last week, and get it back because it's got a leak. You have to advise the shops at least and the customers as well. And if the gun's out of warranty, they may not want to spend all that money to send it all the way back to have some O-rings changed. They're not a complicated engine. Daystate ones are particularly easy to work on, and we felt that we needed to prove that by showing people how to do it. So you and I went up to an event not too far from here in Yarnfield Park and spent 2 days filming. And when we got back, we looked at it and went, that's awful. So we then canned it. This is about 2000, 2001, wasn't it? I think something like that. And then we had a meeting. Yeah. And we decided to see if Jeff and Jake from Sub 12 Foot Pounds would do it for us. And they have. And we've been working with them to do the video content. And then you and I have been transcribing that into a Haynes-style workshop manual, which is available online right now.
So people can go onto YouTube and just type in, Daystate Huntsman assembly guide, or they can go to a dedicated Daystate page. Is that right?
Well, we've got Daystate and BRK done now. So if you wanted to go do the full fat thing, what you do is you go onto the Daystate or the BRK website, click the hamburger menu, the menu in the top right hand corner, and select workshop guides, and that will then give you a choice of the rifle that you want to know about. And you would click that guide, and that would take you through like a Haynes style workshop page online. But you'll notice that there's hyperlinks with numbers on them, and if you click that, a video starts and runs from that point. So it's not just about the words and the pictures, it links to the videos as well. So if you're short on English and your language is a bit difficult, it's hard to read a guide, you can just watch the video. You can either watch it from the start all the way through, or by using the guide, you can click to the section. So if you've got a leaking filler valve, you can look at the index for filler valve, go down to filler valve, click the link and watch the video or read how to do it. Depends on how much of a hurry you are or how much of an expert you think you are.
On the subject of expertise then, Tony, so these are delivered at a level that people like me and Rich can follow, carry this stuff out without blowing ourselves up or destroying a valuable gun.
That's the plan. The plan is to, that we recognise that some people can't, and they should know who they are, but if you feel you can, there's a warranty angle of this. You've got to be careful that you're not validating warranty. So if you just bought the gun, best to take it back to the shop or send it back, but outside of that, some people, say Jeff and Jake, are honest statements. So we'd never send anything back. We do it ourselves, so this is for people who want to do that. And if you're in a faraway place or it's a simple problem and you don't want to lose the gun, it's quicker to repair it yourself than to get it all the way through the system. These things, as I say, and once you've watched the videos and seen the help guides, you might feel more comfortable with the rifle. You'll certainly understand how it works better. And you could perhaps open that part of the enjoyment of the sport, which is maintaining and using your own equipment. And saving a bucket of money at the same time.
Sounds fantastic. And that sort of maintenance side of things actually probably leads us quite nicely into talking a bit more about the experience days, because I know that kind of hands-on servicing and working on your own guns, that's going to be an element of these experience days. So I know, Tony, that some of the information has already been out there to some degree in the magazines and on social media. Tell us all about it, when it's happening, where it's happening, what it will entail, and how people can get involved.
Rich has certainly been on several Daystate training courses. So every couple of years, every 6 months or every year, we run training courses for the trade where they can come in and we spend 2 days taking them through repair of the guns. And this was the original idea for maintenance, so that people could go to a gun shop and the gun shop was comfortable to do because a lot of these repairs are 2 minutes. It's the packing up, the booking in, getting it to an engineer who changes one O-ring, packs it up, goes all the way back to the system. So some of these repairs are very, very simple. Some of them don't need repairing at all. They just need explanation. So we started doing that, and we probably ran nearly 50 courses by the time we got to the end of it. But it was clear that we were only scratching the surface. We weren't really getting into sometimes the right people. The people who were on the courses were people who were available rather than people who did the job, or they were out of date very quickly because we were training them on one type of gun, and 6 months later there's a new one out and they haven't been trained on it. So we decided to go online, and that was the part of the workshop guides. But that did leave this core idea of training people in a classroom that was fun. You got everybody together and we enjoyed it. And Olivia, who's taken over the customer service job here, she's really sort of talking to customers all the time. And she went on one of the early courses and said, look, I really enjoyed that. That was, my first few weeks, I helped a lot by being on this course. How about we open it to the general public? And we thought, well, that's not a bad idea. We'll run a training course for general public. And then we thought, well, is that enough? Do you want to come all the way to see us to be shown how to put O-rings together? You're only going to be interested in your gun, not the other 7 or 8 types that we make. So we started to expand on it, and it's developed into an idea to run a Daystate and BRK experience day, or 2 days. And on the 8th and 9th of July, we're running a 2-day event, and you can come for 1 day or 2 day. You have to pay because there's massive costs for us involved, but we've kept the cost right down, £40 for a single day, £70 for 2 days. And we've got, at the moment, 8 events going on simultaneously and at the same time. So we've got an event going on in the main hall at Oak Edge Shooting Ground, where at different times of the day there's 8 events taking place, and each event is run by a team. So the team bit I'm doing with my friend Gareth Egar is Daystate History and Modern Guns Daystate. So we will do a 40-minute segment on that. And then we will hand over a team from a grey squirrel control and red squirrel conservation. They will do a 40-minute segment. And then we hand over to a hunting team, which is you two. And then you will do a presentation on hunting with air rifles. And while this is going on, the stands which will be outside will be also presenting their thing to people who walk up. So if you are we're also doing field target shooting, hunter field target shooting. So if you're interested in hunter field target, you might go and shoot on the range, and you might listen to the presentation on it when their section comes up. But if you're not interested in hunter field target, you might wander up to the hunting segment, which is you two, and go in depth into your experience and talk about and be trained by you. And they can do that all the time that you're there, apart from the 40 minutes when you're in the main hall doing your section. So there's a chance to wander around, meet the staff. We'll have Daystate staff there. We'll have all the rifles. We've got coaches there to show you how to shoot, HFT shooters to show you how to HFT, hunters to show you how to hunt, and trainers there to show you how to repair and service the rifles. Should be a good day.
Yeah, sounds like it. So people can shoot the entire Daystate and BRK range just about?
Yeah, well, on the Daystate day, there'll be the entire range of Daystate rifles that you can pick up and shoot. And on the Brocock day, BRK day, ditto. You'll be able to shoot the Brocock rifles and everything there. And the training will be based on those rifles on those days.
And that's 12 foot-pound only, or FAC too, Tony?
12 foot-pound only. We're having a demonstration. So one of the stands is EBR, Extreme Bench Rest stand. And we have Chris Jensen flying across. I mean, this is crazy, isn't it? We're doing this flying across from Airguns, Arizona. They've sent him across to do this.
Wow.
And he's doing a stand on extreme bench rest. And he will be shooting 100 foot-pound Alpha Wolf on the first day and Ghost on the second day. And we will put a 100-yard target out there, and Chris will demonstrate how to hit it 10 out of 10 times. And he'll be talking about that. Now, we have asked the police if it's okay to allow people to shoot on that, but there are some problems with people who don't have a firearm certificate shooting a high-power rifles. So if you are enrolled in the Experience Day and you have an FAC or an RFD, then do bring it with you. But other than that, it'll be a demonstration on high-power guns. You'll certainly get to see what these things can do. That's, of course, if Chris hits the target with it.
So if someone is an FAC holder, they can come along and they can shoot.
I have to check on the rules, but I think if you're an FAC holder and you come along, you can actually handle the FAC guns. But if you're not an FAC holder, I think the rules are a little bit more grey, in handling firearms. But it is a firearms rated ground, and it is, safe to do so. And we have a license for it. We've already had that granted.
Now, there are various packages, aren't there, Tony? So people can literally come for one day, both days, or as I alluded to earlier on, they can stop over. I think there's even a package with accommodation and the dinner out, which I mentioned.
The websites, both Daystate and BRK websites, right on the homepage, there's experience package. You can click on that rather than me run through all the different packages. Essentially, there's a 1 day, a 2 day, a one with a dinner. So we're taking, if you enroll with the dinner package, all of the staff and all the people enrolled in that will go to dinner together. We're paying for the dinner, and you will have a slap-up meal with us, and we'll be there until we fall over or the pub closes, and then there's also another package, which is the Gold Plus package, where we will sort out the accommodation for you. And again, we've kept prices right down as far as we can. It just covers the costs. There's no profit in it. Financially, I think our aim is to break even. I don't know if we're going to do that, but it would be nice not to lose too much on it. But I think the aim is to break even and give back to the people who come. So, I'll be so disappointed if people leave that event and say, "Oh, yeah, what a waste of time." You never know, but there'll certainly be. You shouldn't be bored. There should be plenty to do.
Yeah, sounds like you've got a lot going on, Tony.
Yeah.
That sounds brilliant. Really looking forward to it, actually, and looking forward to seeing some of the things that, as well as Rich and I doing our bit. I'm hoping I get a moment to proper look around and see some of the stuff that's going on there.
Be able to get around and see everything. There'll be plenty of time for that.
Great, and that's the Daystate website that people need to visit.
Daystate website, front and centre on the homepage, and it's also on the BRK Brocock website, front and centre on the homepage. You can click on that, you can read the packages, you can enrol there and then. There's plenty of slots available. I think we're going to close it at 500. No, we're going to we'll limit it long before that. Probably 50 or 60 people will be there when you get there. But it should be quite dynamic. Lunch is provided as well. That's on every package. So we're having food brought in so that we can feed everybody, and then they can then carry on. We didn't feel we'd have a lunch break. We felt that we would just let it run. We won't have any presentations during lunch, but we will let the event roll on. So everybody should get to shoot everything. Everybody should get to speak to me, you, everybody else. We've also got the builders and the testers there coming up on the respective days. So the people who built your rifle are going to be there. So if you want to know why they did it that way, well, it goes directly to the horse's mouth, and you can ask the question.
I think the opportunity to shoot all of those different guns is a big one, really, because I'm always guilty. One, not so much guilty. I think it's good advice. I always say to people, if you're considering buying a gun, you should try and handle it and shoot it for yourself. Unfortunately,
yes,
there aren't a lot of places close to everybody where you can pick up a high-end Daystate and have a play with it. So this is an incredible opportunity for people to try these guns, see how they get on with them. I think it sounds brilliant.
Well, we have a hunter field target course there going through, and of course those will be the guns that go through the course. So if you can have a go on them, take it shooting through the short course. To have a go, see how you get on with that. But you can also try guns side by side. So one of the things you're going to maybe wonder, do I want a Wolverine arm, Pinnacle mechanical rifle, or do I want a Red Wolf, which is the electronic gun? What are they like? Shoot side by side. Well, they'll both be sitting beside each other. You can try them out repeatedly, as long as you let somebody else have a go at some point.
Sounds brilliant. Well, let's move on to questions from our listeners and viewers. Rich, do you want to kick us off with that?
Yeah, I've got a question here from that's been submitted anonymously, and it's a really good one.
This is the Grill Tony section, is it?
Yeah. Well, it is. So this boy or girl is asking, well, basically saying, we see you guys shooting PCPs, hunting with PCPs on YouTube all the time. Do you think springers have a role to play in modern airgun hunting and pest control? So I'm going to throw that one at you, Matt, first.
To me? Okay, well, as sitting here with a company that only makes PCPs, no, but I did start off with spring guns. I didn't discover PCPs till 86, probably 87. I shot with a tuned HW77. I kept it for a while, and I do a fair bit of coaching, as you know, and we do coach with spring guns as well. And there are advantages to spring guns. The big advantage is generally price. They are noticeably cheaper than a PCP, or were. There's PCPs coming into the market, and you just tested one, I think, at $499 or something, $599. So they are cooking prices now on PCPs, so it does, to get rid of that argument a bit. But generally, there's more engineering in a PCP, and it's to a higher level. It's built very differently. The PCPs are milled and turned. Spring guns are generally stamped, welded and turned. So it's a mass-produced item. So they are cheaper, and they're also more reliable. We've got 250 bar wanting to come out and meet its 1 bar friends. It wants to be with its mates, and only a little bit of nitrile is holding it back. Whereas on a spring gun, there's nothing to leak generally. So as long as the piston heads and the spring's okay, it's all right. But they're considerably harder to shoot, and I don't know if this always comes out. The recoil, as you well know, is happening while that pellet is still in the barrel. And if you change your grip, or you shoot downwards or you shoot upwards and hold it differently, the pellet's going to go into a different place. So the people who can shoot them well, they're superstars. I mean, they would be good, with a longbow. It's a real skill. So for as somebody who's coming into the sport to be able to shoot a spring gun well, it doesn't work that way. It takes lots of practice and effort to shoot a spring gun well. Not saying you can't, it's just harder. So that's my view on it. They are more reliable, they are cheaper, but they are much harder to shoot.
How about you, Matt? Do you ever get out your rusty old musket and ever shoot?
Yeah, I do, but I agree with a lot of what Tony said. I would say straight away, yes, there certainly is still a place for spring-powered airguns in modern airgun hunting. As Tony said, they're sort of grab-and-go solution. If you want an ever-ready, relatively low-maintenance, comparatively affordable airgun, that's going to suit so many people. And also some people really enjoy shooting recoiling airguns. So they get added pleasure from that. So terrific. Whatever you like best, go and shoot it. From my point of view, and obviously this person's alluding to the fact that you and I are generally always using PCPs on the airgun show, that, again, as Tony said, is down to the simple fact that they are easier to shoot well with. And I'm shooting live quarry. I'm representing our sport in front of hopefully tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people. It's down to me to deliver the cleanest, swiftest, most humane kills I can on camera. Hunting's a contentious subject anyway. I want the most straightforward means of doing that, and that is a pre-charged air gun. I am an average shot at best. People will know I go on and on and on about getting in close, make the shot as easy as you can. So you expect that clean kill. When you pull the trigger, you don't hope for it. That expectation, to me, is bred by the clinical precision of modern pre-charged air guns. There are other factors too. It's a lot of pressure shooting well in front of a camera. I'm not a competitive. I don't come from a target shooting background, so I'm not used to, or wasn't used to, that pressure of having somebody breathing down my neck when I'm trying to compose a shot. And also there's pressure in the fact that often I'm working with a freelance videographer who's got his meter running, and I've made him stand around in the cold for 6 or 7 hours and we haven't seen anything. Now, if I'm going to say to him, look, I'm really fond of recoiling air guns, so therefore I'm going to get out my favourite Springer, but bear with me, I could well miss this shot. He's probably not going to be very sympathetic to that. And he's certainly going to be very expensive because of that. So for me, it's about their great efficiency in putting pellets in the right place. And again, even when I'm not making videos, from my own personal point of view, I do a better, more efficient job for landowners because of the precision of pre-charged air guns. Occasionally, I do go out with my HW95 brake barrel to try and keep my fieldcraft skills sharp, because I have to work even harder at getting in close. So, yes, those are the reasons why I, most of the time, or why you will see me using pre-charged guns on the airgun show more often than not. Much the same for you, Rich?
Yeah, I think it is, Matt. I think, as you say, you have a responsibility to deliver, content for a show, but also probably bigger than that is a responsibility to do a good job for the landowner who's given you permission to shoot on their land. Like going back to my strawberry squirrels, if I was rocking up there and shooting with a gun that I know I'm less accurate with, I wouldn't be doing myself any favours, the landowner any favours, or more importantly, the squirrels any favours. I think the reality is that PCPs do flatter you. They turn a mediocre shot into a better shot. And I think also it's true to say that a cheap PCP is a more accurate rifle than a cheap Springer. I think you have to buy, for my mind, to be really confident hunting with a Springer, I'd want to go higher end. I'd be looking at the sort of don't listen to this, Tony, the Air Arms or the HWs.
We're shooting a Springer. That's absolutely what I would choose.
And there are some
the only one on the list.
There are some good budget Springers out there as well, but I would be less confident using them for hunting.
Yeah, I think the budget ones are worth what they cost, but they won't compete with the top end ones.
Yeah, and I've got a load of old Springers behind me that I still use on a regular basis. If I'm going out to hunt for the pleasure of the experience and to, get a few rabbits or a pigeon for dinner or something, then if the pressure's off, then I still take a Springer with me. Absolutely,
and there's the old adage that any gun is better than no gun at all, isn't it? So if you've got a spring gun, don't feel inferior. You're learning the right way. It's the best gun to start with because it'll teach you, how to hold and how to follow through because you really need to on those. But it is harder to do.
But on the subject of not feeling inferior, you could, if you're using a recoiling air gun and being consistently successful, you should probably feel superior because it's harder to shoot well.
Yes. Harder to do. Yeah.
So I know we're a little bit short of time. I wanted to jump into this next question, which actually is another anonymous one. But this person's saying that I think this is relevant for you, Tony. I think you'll have a view on this. They're saying, I'm thinking about investing in a PCP for hunting and shooting on the range.
Yeah. Budget
is a bit of an issue. Would you say that a regulator is essential on a PCP rifle?
No. It's an almost nice thing to have. It's something that we as Daystate and Brocock have to fit because it's expected. And for a long time, actually, a few years back now, we did do rifles deliberately without regulators. We developed the regulators till we got to where we were comfortable with them and then ditched them and went to a slingshot system. But all the time that we were doing that, we were being asked by people coming onto the stands, so does this thing have a regulator? It's almost a tick box, like, has it got a pressure gauge? Has it got ABS? Has it got, and so it was something that we had to fit, and we spent agonized over it because it's another device to go wrong. The more bells and whistles you add to anything, the more bells and whistles there are to break. And if you've got an inlet valve and an exit valve, and you've got 2 leak points, if you've got a regulator in there, well, you've just added another 2 leak points, because you've got an in and out of that as well. And then you've got all the seals. And so that's one of the reasons why we tied up with Humour, because we felt that they had the expertise to constantly manufacture to the same standard. And we didn't have to do it, so we were able to buy in a regulator. But you do not have to have one. The knock open valve thing works absolutely fine. If I was running a fleet of air rifles for commercial use, I definitely wouldn't have regulators in them, because I wouldn't want to be repairing them and sealing them. But a guy on a range, he's looking for consistency. He wants to fill to high pressure, not to worry about all that sort of thing. So regulator then to start to make, maybe for a hunter where he's shooting a small amount of shots, he would never know whether there was a regulator in that gun or not. But for somebody who's sitting on a range firing 500 pellets a day, he's probably going to notice, because this power curve thing, if you know how a pre-CP works, is there's without a regulator, you have a primary chamber and a secondary chamber, and without a regulator, you just have one chamber. And as the air pressure drops, so the valve stays open longer because there's less back pressure, and it's supposed to compensate it out. But it doesn't really. You get a power curve. The first shots are slightly lower powered, and then it climbs to a crescendo and then drops off. Now, that whole curve can be 15 feet per second, and you can barely notice it. But if you're on a range, shooting at 50 meters or something like that, you would.
Yeah.
So regulator's good for a club shooter, good for somebody who's a hobby, but not essential at all.
How about you, Matt? I'm guessing you've got a few guns that are unregulated. How do they compare?
Yeah, and in all honesty, for the sort of shooting I do, I probably wouldn't really notice if they weren't. I find they breed confidence. Probably, again, talking about PCPs just now, that knowing that a gun is capable of being so accurate, that breeds confidence. Knowing that it's regulated and running it over the chrono and seeing it is that consistent breeds more confidence. So yeah, again, though, it's the type of shooting I do, because I'm not a high-level competition shooter, the truth is it probably doesn't make a huge difference. What do you reckon?
I think it's interesting, because I think having an unregulated gun makes you get to know your gun better, because you get to work out where in that overall fill pressure your rifle is performing best, and that might be between 170 and 140 bar. And if you spend enough time with your rifle to understand that, then you're going to get all kinds of other benefits of just being more attuned to your rifle. And I've got lots of unregulated rifles, and some of them I only fill to 170 bar because I know that's where they're shooting at their best. But I think the benefits in terms of shot count can't be argued with. I always say to people that think of a regulator as like the optic on a bottle of whiskey. It really doesn't matter how much whiskey is in that bottle. You're going to get the same amount of whiskey in your glass every single time. Obviously with a regulator, you're going to get that whiskey at a certain pressure as well as volume. And that just means that you can use the entire or more of the fill pressure. So it's good from that perspective. But, I would say, if this person is struggling to buy, budget is an issue, then I would go for a better unregulated gun than a lower price rifle that has a regulator, because I think regulators...
You can find one, because many of the guns now are regulated, even at quite lower prices. And like us, I think they've discovered that
it's
regulated is a major marketing tick. So, so then, of course, the question is it regulated, and how reliable is that regulator going to be? Because they do break. I mean, I was involved with regulators. I remember that all the regulators made today are basically a Joe Corrick design, an American from Washington State. And they're all a copy of his design. And I remember speaking to him, and it's very critical on dimensions. And they do go wrong. So you want, not only do you want a regulator gun, but you want a regulator which is not going to break down all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I think Rich's optic on a whiskey bottle analogy is probably the best description and
cool.
way to visualise what a regulator does I've ever heard. But we're starting to push it on time a bit, so I think we'll wrap it up there. So I just want to say thanks to you both. Those who have tuned in, do have a look at the Daystate website for those experience days and find out more about those. Thanks again to Crackshot, the podcast sponsor. Now, they're based in Newton Abbot, but if you can't get there, their website is crackshot.uk. Do also grab yourself a copy of Airgun World magazine, or better still, get yourself a subscription, which includes shooting insurance. I will put a link to the subscription page on the show description, but you can also find it at airgun-world.com. And also, while you're there, do also sign up for the Airgun World newsletter, which keeps you dead up to date with everything that's going on at the magazine. Thank you for tuning in. Terry and Dave should be back in a fortnight, and Rich and I are back again 2 weeks after that.